Welcome to Heartthrob. Oh, excuse me. Group Think. What up? What up? What up?
How's it going?
You know, it's going outstanding. I was just rocking out to my guys, Kings of Leon. That's my little boom, 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 boom.
Love it. You need some energy in the morning. It's earlier here.
I know. How are you?
I'm great. Yeah. Another beautiful day. Just ready to get it.
You know what? I love that fucking attitude. That's why you name your company Type A, because we're Type A personalities. I love it.
True. There's only one way to be. It's positive, because anything else is just not worth it. We're all going to we're going to end up in the same place at the end of the day. Might as well try our best to enjoy it.
You know, I love that attitude. You know, as my grandma would always say, you know, if you're on this side of Jordan, you're living a great life.
True.
So thank you, Allison, for joining groupTHINK 005. This is our 5th episode, and you are that fucking badass girl. So thank you.
Honored. It's awesome to be here. Thanks for having me.
So to the audience that's listening, you know, Allison is a badass founder, executive, Type A, as we know, just a cool chick who had a dream and built something. And her thing is about deodorant and clean and just helping people. And also, you know, she's a mother of 2, so never say you can't do anything. She's a mother of 2, married, and is fucking slaying the game. So let's welcome her to fucking groupTHINK. Let's go.
Thank you. It's so awesome to be here. Yeah, all of that is true.
So Allison, let's jump in, you know, because we want people to really get some good understanding and some knowledge from you. So tell us a little about your professional background. What is Type A?
Absolutely. So my background is in marketing in the beauty industry. I've been doing that most of my career, over 18 years. And through that experience, I've learned a lot about product. And when it came to natural or aluminum-free deodorants, I just really couldn't find anything that not only worked well, had the performance I was looking for, but where the overall user experience was enjoyable and something that you wanted to use. And I had an idea for how to do it differently and better. And I took that leap of faith a few years ago and said, okay, let's bring this to market and let's build a brand. And I thought there was a product here that really could help people in their lives. And that meant a lot to me. And so we had a product that was kicking ass and taking names and working hard and had your back. And so we called that product Type A.
I love that.
That's how we are here.
That's dope. So what made you decide to start Type A, and what made you take the leap from your previous career? You know, and talk a little bit about that. You were a kick-ass executive in, you know, one of the big the beauty brands. And, you know, what made you decide to take that leap of faith again? Because you just spoke about that. And then, you know, a little bit, explain to the audience what clean beauty is.
For sure. So I think first, from the leap of faith perspective, it's funny, when I look back on it, it seems like a massive leap of faith. At the time, it just seemed like, why not? Why not try it? And it didn't do it without a lot of thought. And, you know, my background, as you mentioned, it was largely kind of in the earlier days with big beauty. I was with L'Oreal and Lauder and some bigger brands. And then, you know, more recently with smaller, more indie brands. And that's actually kind of how the shift happened. So I'm grounded in very analytical thinking from my days at L'Oreal. So I didn't take it lightly, but I really saw there was an opportunity. Thought we had a product that made a difference, that was highly relevant, that people could use and wanted and needed. A category that was ripe for innovation and approachable to enter. And maybe, you know, a little bit of internal faith, if I didn't realize it at the time, it said, like, I could do this and it is worth giving it a shot. And that's really what happened. But I think for me, my trajectory of my career, I had been with big companies and I'd worked with smaller brands. And so I had also progressed toward working in this sort of small brand environment, being very hands-on, tackling a lot, being very nimble. And I liked that. And it doesn't mean I didn't like the big brand corporate piece either, but it's just where I had kind of gone in my career. So it felt like a very natural jump to start a brand from scratch. I will say it's still exceptionally different. Like there is so much you don't know, but I'm very much a person of like, let's dive in and figure it out. I do believe that anything can be solved. And so I just took that approach here. I said, okay, we're going to figure out what we don't know. And I have the right resources and the right network and the right friends to ask a million questions and figure out what I don't know. And the things I do know, I felt comfortable with. So that's kind of how it happened.
That's wonderful.
You asked about clean. Do you want me to?
Yes, please,
All right.
absolutely. Tell the people what clean beauty is. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, like so many things, like natural, it's not regulated by any body or the government. So there's not really a strict definition.
Okay.
For us at Type A, and I think in general for most of the brands and retailers that adopt clean is just about safety. Clean is saying that every ingredient, and in our case, we look at it, every individual ingredient plus the composition has been reviewed for safety via third-party data, credible data. That's it. So clean for us is about, health and human safety first. I would say second, it's about sort of societal effect and planet. And again, this is sort of our personal brand perspective.
Okay.
You try to do everything, but you got to prioritize. All of it's important. We were officially certified as a B Corp last year.
Boom, boom, boom.
We're excited about it. Yeah.
Please elaborate a little bit about that, for the audience who don't know anything about beauty.
Absolutely. So B Corp is actually a certification process. It's a nonprofit. It's a very rigorous process where, by which they evaluate the company and how you operate. It's about the product or service you offer. It's about how you treat your employees. It's about your impact on the world from a human society perspective and from a planet perspective. All of those things combined, just trying to do good, do better, use your business for a force of good. And so to receive this certification means that we're really trying. We're doing things well and to the best of our ability to really have a positive impact on all of the stakeholders. Mm-hmm. But we're not perfect, and we're going to keep trying. And we have to recertify every 2 years. And I'd say the process, it also taught me a lot. And we're a small brand. It was really cool because there were things that would come up that I hadn't even thought of that could be very minor impact, but it was a no-brainer. Why not do that? We don't need 20 layers of corporate approval to do it. We're just going to do it.
Right.
Going carbon neutral was actually one of those. I was almost embarrassed that I hadn't proactively done that from the beginning, but you can't do everything, and you're trying to launch a brand and a product. Right. And when that question came up, I said, of course we need to be carbon neutral. How do we go about doing that? And we did it.
That's wonderful. That's dope. I mean, I love this fucking attitude. You're just a doer. Type A. I love it. Type A.
I had coffee this morning.
So just to make sure, how long have you been in business?
So 2 years. Our birthday was in April. So we've been selling products for 2 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so you've been in business for 2 years. Can you walk us through your timeline, the length of time it took from idea to product development process to investment to launch? Walk us through that.
Absolutely. So
2 years, folks, 2 years.
2 years, it feels like a lifetime. And yet also, I don't even know where 2 years went. I moved fast. And I also think I had the confidence to launch this because it came together very quickly. So I knew that this product had a lot of merit, but also there was sort of it brought itself to market. Not totally. I started working on the idea late 2016, early 2017. I was on maternity leave with my second, and I had some free time on my hands, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I was going to go back to corporate job, et cetera, and I had this idea. And so I kind of took some time and said, I'm just going to focus on it for 3 or 6 months, see if it has legs, and then figure it out. And it did. And that's really the history. So 2017 was our development year. That was the year first half was all about formulation. Second half was about building the brand and getting ready to launch. And then, best laid plans. I would have loved to launch, I think we wanted to launch November 2017, but launched actually in April 2018. But it all came together, and we brought it out to market, and immediately there was a really great response, which was validating, motivating. It was everything. It told us that we were doing the right thing. And then it was just about really how do we put the fundamentals behind the business.
Yeah.
So we have a good product that is seeming to resonate with the very, very early users and taking off quickly. So we're getting some adoption, but there's so much more that we need for this to be a business. And so then it was just about, okay, we really need like brass tacks. How do we turn this into a business? And at the same time, continue to fuel that growth and that trial and that discovery of the product. And along the way, we actually very early, we launched April, and in May, we launched with Credo Beauty as our kind of exclusive beauty retail partner. And that was just incredible. We share the values, the same exact values. And I have so much respect for what they do. And they do, I think, their standards are exceptionally high, and they're also just good people. It's just everything about it. We love Credo so much. So I was very honored to be able to launch with them very early, and I think that really also helped us get out there and get our name out there.
You know, I remember Melanie and we went to a market in Brentwood, and we saw you in the Goop as well, you know? And so I was like, yes, I showed Melanie, and she was like, we were so excited to see that you were in Goop as well. So that was really incredible to see that too.
Thanks. Yeah, the Goop moment was a big moment. You know, Goop has the power to move the needle. Right. People, you know, they read, they follow, they listen, and it was a little later that year. So 2018 was our kind of formational foundation year. We had the good fortune of having a lot of great press, a great reception of the product, a lot of word of mouth, and then some of these key pickups with Credo, with Goop, and then Full Lane. Those were the three in 2018. Really did, you know, accelerate everything. But yeah, that was pretty. Goop was awesome, and they're also a great partner. Not to, I mean, we give a lot of love to Credo, but you know, Goop, we love Goop too very much.
I mean, for those who don't know California, I mean, you are in Brentwood Market. I mean, let's be clear, you know. I mean, let's be clear. So, double salute to you. So, can you also explain the manufacturing process? You know, how do you ensure that your product remains clean?
Great question. Also, sort of a definition piece here.
Okay.
The clean of the formula it's not just in manufacturing. It's actually, that's a definition around doing our homework on the ingredients that go into the product.
Okay.
And the formula itself and the testing around the formula itself before it really gets to manufacturing or goes to market. That said, so our manufacturer, we actually own our formula. We developed it. Our manufacturing partner.
So I want to interject real quickly.
Yeah.
The people who are listening, to own your formulas is like owning your masters in music.
It is. It's honestly I try to take every lesson that I've learned in my career. I'm not going to know everything. I'm going to make mistakes, but don't make mistakes that I know not to make has kind of been one of many mantras, mottos I've tried to follow. And this is one of them. I've seen when small brands, you don't realize how there is a path to ownership that can be quite affordable, but you just have to think about it from the start. So it was in my mind from the start. So we worked with a freelance chemist, we developed, brought it to a manufacturing partner, and they scaled it up and made it. So they are, I know everything there is to know about this formula, how it's made, and it fits and meets the standard we're trying to set. And I feel really good about that. And actually, Mia Davis is a brand advisor. She helped, she was the person that Greg Renfrew at Beauty Counter, who I have so much respect for, brought in to develop their never list and their stance on what is a clean, safe product. That's her background and expertise. She was with them for a long time. She's now actually the director of mission and health and safety at Credo. I probably bungled your title there, Mia, sorry. But she's, you know, also a brand advisor to us, an incredibly valuable partner, great person, and somebody who I trust. So, you know, you don't necessarily, like, having Mia is always awesome. Everyone can have their Mia, or just do their research and, you know, find their standard and then, you know, be diligent to stick to it. So when it comes to manufacturing process, you know, we tell the manufacturer and work with them on this is our formula and how to make it. And then I stay really involved. I'm there on the floor. Quality is exceptionally important to me. And it's also really tricky. And it's interesting. There's weird things like the ambient, you know, humidity in the air can affect how your formula comes out. from batch to batch.
Right.
Now, it shouldn't affect it dramatically, and you should be able to like weather those swings, and it shouldn't be noticeable to a consumer.
Right.
But there's so many little things in the details and technicalities of manufacturing that are actually
True story.
fascinating that I've learned. So yeah, you know, you find experts to help advise, to ultimately one day have a head of operations take it on for you, and you get in there and you do it.
Yeah, that's dope. I mean, believe me, I've learned so much about manufacturing, you know, through Melanie. So I completely understand what you're talking about. And so Type A started as D2C. What about your business model made you, you know, go that route opposed to traditional brick and mortar?
Great question. The D2C was the sort of the lowest, the easiest to start, lowest barrier to entry. I had in my more recent career past the opportunity to sort of, as I was looking after marketing, look after product development, but also look after e-commerce businesses. So I had a bit of a digital, I am by no means the you know, digital savant hack that can, I wish I was, but I've led e-commerce businesses before. I know the digital ecosystem. I knew what it took to get a brand off the ground via e-commerce. And so it felt very native and natural to me to start that way. It's also, quite frankly, the most accessible. My husband and I bootstrapped this business to start. And so this was just a very, it's a very obvious way, but retail was always in the plan. I believe that I look at this category and I analyze this category for what it is. And I think people certainly are open to buying deodorant. I'd say people very broadly. I'm not talking specific demos here. Right. Certainly open to buying deodorant online, and more are doing so. But there's still very much a habit. Deodorant is primarily shopped when you look at attitude and usage surveys by force. Sorry,
no, please, let's talk.
By force of habit and convenience. And so while there is this desire and drive to seek out natural or clean or aluminum-free alternative products, the force of habit and convenience tend to override. So we need to be where you are shopping by those habits at mass retail, at food, drug, mass, where you're shopping for deodorant, to be in the consideration set for when you're ready to make the switch. And so I've always believed that from the beginning, that for this category, it's really important to be at retail, to be omni-channel, if you will. And Amazon is also a really important partner. I know there's a lot of different views on Amazon. We went out to Amazon pretty early. We went out in 2018. Okay. And not initially wanted to get our D2C business off the ground, and we do prioritize D2C. But if you are determined to only shop on Amazon, if you're loyal to that platform, you are going to make a choice based on what's on that platform. And if we're not there, you're not going to choose us. Gotcha. And so you can have a small business that's there for the people for that purpose, without necessarily having to go all in and having Amazon first, or a massive Amazon strategy. And so that's the approach we've taken to date.
Okay, we'll swing back to the Amazon question.
Sorry,
No, this is great. This is fucking dope. So for those that don't know, you said you bootstrapped, but word on the street is that you raised like 2.5 million. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, I like how you rounded that up there.
super congrats. For the audience that's listening, was that debt financing, convertible note, equity financing? And for those that don't know, can you explain each?
So it was a convertible note.
Okay.
And that means that investors have lent us money in the form of a note. The interest accumulates on paper, and really the intention is that this note, this debt, will convert into equity at a specific time. The note will either mature or there'll be a trigger event. Usually these situations, this is a path of you raise notes and then you have a Series A, which is an equity financing round, meaning that the investors are taking a piece of the company in return for their investment. And so that will trigger the notes to also convert into equity. We went this route because for a very small business that's early stage, it sort of, I think the biggest piece is you don't have to price your business. So we were already in market. We did actually have sales. We weren't pre-revenue. So there was, something I guess you could base a valuation on. But in order to have an equity round, you need to say what your business is worth. In order to determine, if I'm going to take 5% of your company or 10% of your company, what does that equal in dollars? And then what are your shares as a result? So it was very early, and it didn't feel like the right time to value the business in that way. Now the note still has some metrics in there that sort of act as a proxy, but it's a little less of a, what do you think it is? And so it's a little less risk for us. It's a little less risk for our investors. And when we get to a price round now, we've been in market over 2 years. We are looking to do, we'll probably raise a Series A like this year or next. And there's a lot more to consider and evaluate in determining our valuation at this point in time.
And so, was it a challenge? If you could do it all over again, would you raise capital?
Oh, that's a loaded question.
I got some zingers for you, girls. Zingers.
Yeah, you do.
Boom.
Yes, I would, but I would do things a little differently. I would still do a convertible note.
Okay.
I think, but there are definitely how much I take and when I might have changed. I mean, listen, hindsight is 20/20. There's lots of little things in the business. I'm thrilled and I feel fortunate that we've been this successful. Of course, it's been a lot of hard work. There's a lot of things we've done right. There's a lot of things that have happened that luck, circumstance, there's so many pieces that come together. But there are certainly places where I say I would have, many, many places where I would have done little things differently that could have added up. And so, yeah, I would have probably handled it a little differently, but would most likely be having the same conversation with you.
I dig it. I totally dig it. And so how many investors do you have?
We have a number of investors. We have a couple of investors, like kind of a core group, who are our key investors. This is what they do. Very knowledgeable in early stage investment. They add value, they add perspective, they have guidance and resources. They're wonderful. They're the ones I interact with the most. And then there's a number of investors who are, I guess you could call them silent capital, who followed on or come in, and they're it's really just more of a capital investment, less active, less involved. And then a handful of friends and family, because the round actually started as a friends and family round and then turned into a seed round. Okay. So and they're also kind of less investor, more along for the ride.
They keep their fucking mouth shut. So
when they ask questions, I am more than happy to answer. And it's usually coming from a place of curiosity. It's actually, I'm like, ooh, I know the answer to that. All right, learn something, cool.
That's incredible. So how did you market the product? What do you believe is the most effective form of marketing for Type A? Is it advertising, sponsorship, endorsements, influencers?
It is a combination, really.
Okay.
I'm hesitant to say this because I feel like it'll come down by. Facebook can be a bit of a drug. It is, it's kind of a tease. Like it can, you can drive some great acquisition or retention or whatever. It can drive your business online in a meaningful way, but it's not always consistent. It's very difficult to manage, and you can't be over-reliant on it. We have been there. One of the things I would learn to do differently. But it's not to be discounted and thrown aside. There's value to it. But what I have found has, at the times where we've had the most success and been the most efficient in looking at sort of marketing spend to, revenue output, it's been influencer plus digital media really working for us, our Facebook ads really on, plus some word of mouth, plus our refer a friend happening in a bigger way. Like everything sort of dials up at the same time. So influencer marketing is really important. We look at it at nano micro influencer level. We're really just trying to get people to try our product and talk about it. Effectively, it's that same word of mouth concept that has morphed over time, over decades in marketing. That's the crux really of influencer marketing. And our product is a product where you try it, you experience it, and then you realize that there's performance there. That's what you've been looking for. And then that's where the relationship begins. So it is very much about word of mouth and trial for us. And so we just try to support that. We've also done a lot of sampling.
Okay.
And we're continuing to do more sampling. We're actually in Birchbox this month, which is really exciting for us. That's the first time. Yeah. So, we developed a little special sample that maintains the user experience. So you still get the like squeeze tube, and it doesn't take away from anything in the experience, and so you really can appreciate the product to its fullest extent. Anyway, from a marketing perspective, I can't pinpoint one thing that has been the golden ticket, the thing that has. I really do see a combination of efforts to be what really moves the needle.
And for the audience, if you have any questions, please send them along as we continue. This is great so far. And so, Allison, one question I love to ask, what do you think is the difference in raising capital for a female founder versus a male founder?
Yeah. So I've thought a lot about this question. There are differences. Listen, it's a reality. Female funders don't get funded as much. I really think a lot of the difference comes from sort of subconscious cultural bias on the part of the investors and actually on the part of the founder. I think it's overcomable if you have a good product and you're able to present that product well, and then find how and demonstrate why there's a promise for success. Is it management team's expertise? Is it, category ripe for innovation, true innovation or differentiation? Like, there's so many reasons why something could be really special and different. But if you have that, there is capital out there. There are so many investors that are really looking for great investments. And it's really about kissing a ton of frogs and being super persistent. It is a slog. It is defeating. And it's not because, in my case, I'm fortunate. I haven't been, no one's being run out of any room right now. We're all in our own homes. But I haven't had any really negative in-person experiences where someone said something horrible and I was so, horrified or upset or what. None of that has happened. It totally happens, I'm sure, but that just hasn't happened to me. But it is just about talking to a ton of people. But what's been so interesting and continues to happen every single time I have to reapproach, capital and investing is I'll talk to someone and they'll say, you know what, love the concept, not fit for me. And then they'll weeks, months later, email me and say, hey, I was talking to so-and-so. This is a perfect fit for them. Yeah. I kept you in mind. I'll talk to that person. May not end up being the right time for them, but then they'll keep me in mind. And so it really, truly, it's networking at its most basic. Talk to as many people as possible and be incredibly persistent, but also know how and why you're different and better and present that, as strong as possible. And the other thing that I will say is I have two advisors in my life. One is a man who's done a lot of lending and investing. One is a woman who has raised rounds and led companies. And I ask them, I gut check myself all the time, because what I found is I have a ton of bias. I will tend to write an email a certain way, and it's not the way that I don't speak finance fluently. Right. I went to business school and I understand a little bit about it, and that's about as much as I can. And to ask someone to do that job better than I can and just partner with them. But so I'm learning a ton, but I also recognize that I have a nature as a female to maybe position things differently, to approach things, to various things. There was an example, if I can go off.
Yeah, of course. Please.
I attended a conference recently, right before we all stopped attending conferences. And it was directed to female founders seeking capital. Okay. And they had one really good piece of advice. They said, this is again, to me, speaks to cultural bias and sort of a subconscious thing that you just have to constantly work to overcome. They said, male founders will will present us with their company. We'll say, not a fit right now. Come back to us when you're ready for your Series A or Series B, when you hit this revenue target, whatever. And they will keep us updated. They'll start a monthly or bi-monthly or quarterly kind of touch base, and we'll hear from them every so often. It's not a personal note. It's just a general business update. Here's what we're doing. And female founders will come present. They'll say, come back to us, when this is in place and the time is right. And the female founder will wait patiently, and then a year later, when they're ready, will come back. But they have no idea what's happened with the business between that period. And they said they consistently see this from male founders staying in touch and female founders sort of taking the direction to heart. Okay, sure, I'll come back, and then really patiently waiting, which is exactly what I would have done.
Right.
And so now I'm sending quarterly updates.
Yeah.
I would do it more often, but that's about as much as I can manage right now.
Yeah.
But it's just those things I never would have thought to think of that.
No, I think you're absolutely right. If I may interject, I mean, even for us, with us getting our business off, I send updates once a week. I'm always like, boom, boom, boom. I hit them in email, like boom, 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 boom. So I understand where you're coming from that. Because I'm like, once a week, I'm like, boom, boom, boom. You're going to know who I am.
It's great, and it's needed. And it honestly was like, it wouldn't have dawned on me. I would have, I'm sort of very used to saying, like, I'm really good at taking direction. I'm also good at breaking the mold and not taking direction, and don't always like to follow the rules. But if you're like, this is what you need to do to get that, I'll be like, great, I'm on it.
Yeah. And so as we move on, because there's so much good stuff that we have to talk about, for all the women that are listening right now, what advice would you give a female founder?
I would say find your coaches, find your advisors, find those that can gut check you so that you can bounce the right phrasing, the right language, when to touch base. Just find those people in your life that can be your resource. Because I think that's one of the things that's been really transformative for me, is asking people who've done this before, a man and a woman. And they always, by the way, almost always have a different take. But both of them will have a different take than I would have had in just listening to my gut, and which is coming from a place of less knowledge.
Yeah. And so how's your business during COVID-19?
It's here. Listen, it's a really tough time. We've had a lot of bright spots. We're fortunate for that. We're sort of on the cusp. Yes, deodorant is something that people still need. It doesn't run out as quickly as toilet paper or toothpaste. So we're not in that surge. And we're also, we're on the low, we try to price to be as accessible as possible, but we're at a premium to your like standard antiperspirant. And so there's a little bit of, we're kind of on the bubble, if you will. But I think it has shown us, I run a pretty lean business. It has shown us, how lean we can be, which is actually fantastic. Because I think you learn a lot from realizing if you think you're being efficient, if you're pushed, where else can you find ways to optimize? Not necessarily just cut costs, but really find ways to improve the efficiency of every dollar spent, the return on that investment. Target is a big part of our business now. I'm preempting probably one of your future questions.
You are. I love it.
I'll save that one. But on the whole, I'm determined we are surviving, and I'm determined that we are going to thrive. And the great news is we continue to have lots of people trying type A, lots of people coming back to repurchase, and at our various channels, and a lot of really positive, promising conversations about the future, which gives me hope.
I love that. And so I love your attitude. I mean, that is something that resonates with me. And I'm sure some of the audience that's listening to positivity in this moment. So to you. And
I try. It is work, by the way. Yeah. I mean, I'm maybe by nature a bit of an optimist, but it is very easy to kind of go down that slippery slope and just like downward spiral right now. Every day is Groundhog's Day. I wake up every day and I'm like, again.
That's a fact. And
so
my
kids are like, Mommy! And I'm like,
and you got 2 kids, so I dig it. So once the world opens back up, how do you see your business changing?
I will be honest, I don't know.
Great answer.
I have tried so hard to answer this question for myself as we plan for the future. And the uncertainty that we have right now in our economy and it's just too great to plan around. So I have some ideas, but I don't know. I don't even have a lead. Right. I think I'm also thinking very specifically to our business. In general, in the market, it's going to be a long road to recovery in terms of people feeling safe and comfortable returning to their old patterns and behaviors. And I really still feel that we're grieving the loss of that. I mean, I've had moments just in the last week where it hit me. I said, I'm not going to be freely going out to restaurants, shopping, grabbing a coffee for a very long time. And this isn't new news. I've known this for a while, but it just, it hits you. We're still dealing with it and coming to terms with it. And it's going to, even living in the, subsequent, like the next 3 to 6 months, it's all just going to continue to feel really surreal. But I think as it impacts business will slowly over time get back to business. I think purchasing behaviors will be some permanently changed, but some will eventually revert back. And it's going to be such a long, slow process that I think you need really a statistician to like model it out. And even then there's going to be like a huge variance of like, huge window of what could possibly be.
No, that's super facts. I couldn't agree more. And, let's talk about this whole Target thing. I think we're ready for that. So you recently launched, and folks, she's in 1,500 fucking Target stores. So congrats. 2 years old. That's
Thank
impressive.
you.
Like, that's some real serious stuff. So tell us about, how did that happen? And how did you hook up with Target? I mean, I got so many hows with it.
Well, we asked.
Hold on. To everyone that's listening, she said she asked. And it's like this, the old biblical term, ask and you shall receive. So continue.
There was a lot more in it eventually, but yeah, it started with, we approached them. And we approached them really early.
Okay.
So
when you say early, what is that? How early? Like, did you have your product already? Like, talk to us.
Yeah. I mean, there's no right or wrong. You can approach them anytime. I think we approached them at the time that felt right for us. So it was about 9 months after we had launched.
Okay.
And as I was saying before, the goal was always to be where people shop for deodorant, and mass retail, food, drug, mass, as it is known, was where we knew we needed to be, and as a complement to online. And Target, for many reasons that may be obvious, I won't go into them, just felt like the perfect first retail partner. And so they were the first ones we went to with the intention of potentially talking to others. And we did, and we have, and we did, and we continue, and we will play carefully. But right now they are kind of our exclusive mass partner. But yeah, it was about 9 months out, or 9 months after launch, we went to them and we did our homework. I, again, kind of did let me talk to the people in my network who have run sales in the mass channel, who have, for big companies, for small, and educate myself. And my CMO, Kate, and I, we actually worked together at L'Oreal. We sort of, she was the first person to start helping me when I had this idea, and it was like, I'm going to launch a product. And she's like, that's awesome. How can I help? And she's amazing. And it's just like, I'm so thankful for the team that we have. And it's really special. But anyway, we've been down this path with, albeit a very large company. We know that their lead times are really long. So we also knew if we wanted to be even in the consideration set for 2020, we had to initiate that conversation in early 2019.
And for those that don't know anything about lead time, elaborate on that.
Yeah, so the buyers will make their decision they only reset their shelves. They only put new products on their shelves. There are some exceptions. Always there are exceptions. But by and large, what they do is they basically have one major, sometimes two, it depends on the retailer, reset each year. And so it's like, could be 9-10 months before that reset that they start to consider. And again, every retailer's lead times are a little different. So they start to consider, okay, I'm going to make my like sweeping changes, and I'm going to allocate this amount of space to new brands. These are the types of brands I'm looking for. And then start having those conversations, as well as like, here are all my legacy brands and what am I doing with them? And it's a huge, massive puzzle process, right? So we knew the lead times were long, and it's called a line review. That is the process you go through where they think about how they're going to redo their shelves. And it happens, for Target, it happens like roughly 9 months. Hopefully, great secrets here. Because probably some knowledge out there. And again, every category is different and every retailer is different. But in general, the idea is it's well in advance of the following year when the changes would be made. So we tried to get in there to start the conversation. We were fortunate to be able to start that conversation. And I think for this category at Target, natural and aluminum-free were growing tremendously. And that said, there were still customers who weren't either not satisfied with natural offerings for deodorant or didn't see themselves as a natural type of customer. They just didn't identify as a naturals user. But they were looking for aluminum free and they were not interested in antiperspirant. So we were able to come in and fill that white space. And that is what we've done in our other channels now, what we're doing at Target. We sit in this clean space in between natural and antiperspirant and deodorant.
Well, that's incredible. And so what beauty or wellness brand do you think right now is doing everything right?
I think there's a lot of brands that are doing a lot of things right, and which is actually fantastic. It's not a brand, it's a retailer, and it's a partner, but I think Credo, I just have to call out Credo because I couldn't be more proud to be a brand that's sold at Credo, partnering with Credo, but they have responded.
For the people that are listening, obviously they're going to Google it themselves, but
right. Go to CredoBeauty.com right now. Credo Beauty is, really the leading clean beauty up and coming retailer. I call them the Sephora of clean beauty. They run some ex-Sephora executives who run Credo, and just a really dedicated, very expert management team. But the team runs, first of all, their values are in terms of clean products that are, good for the planet, good for you. They pick the coolest brands. They pick brands that I am so excited to discover. They have, I want to say 130 plus brands online. Their stores are a wonderful shopping experience. You really discover the best clean products out there. They curate this amazing assortment. They really push the industry for change. So they set really strict standards no other retailer sets when it comes to, what their never list, if you will, what can be in the product, what can't be, and to a nuance as well, not just black and white, but really trying to get into that gray area, as well as setting standards for sustainability. They're rolling out some new sustainability guidelines, and we all have to comply if you want to stay at Credo, which is great. It forces change, and I love it. But also what they're doing right now is that they're staying super positive. They've shifted as much of their business as possible online because they do have, stores, and they were opening a few new stores, so it was 10, 12, somewhere in that zip code. But we get these updates from them every couple weeks, and from Annie, the COO, and they're motivating, they're positive. They're like, here's what we're doing to stay alive, relevant, to serve our customer.
To serve, I like that. Yep.
And it all comes from this place of warmth, compassion, integrity, and intelligence, and it's wonderful.
That's beautiful. And so for the person right now that's thinking about starting a company, is there anything that you didn't think about that you wish you had?
I wouldn't say, in the very beginning, no, it was about the product. So I would say for me, my advice that I do tend to give on a regular basis is make sure you have a product that is really exceptional and really relevant. It doesn't have to be the only product doing that thing in the universe, but it has to be really great product people can fall in love with and stick with. And then, financials and modeling, and I know it sounds like business school kiki, but
no, this is beautiful.
It's something that over the course of this business, as I've always been somewhat analytical, but it was very high level. And as I've really dived deep into understanding my balance sheet and how to make it work for me, and some of the really nitty gritty of the margins and the P&L, at a level that I wasn't in the beginning, it makes a difference to the business. And so at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. You have to have an amazing product, and you have to be able to sell that product, but you also have to make money off of that product, and that money needs to sustain the business.
Yep.
And so I think that's the piece that often gets left behind. And sometimes you get really lucky that you're just selling enough that the cash flow coming in covers all costs. But I think what right now this crisis is teaching us is that diligence is going to be super important.
Yeah.
And that's not going to go away for a very long time. And so investors are looking for more financial diligence and scrutiny. If you're not profitable, we're not profitable. We want to get there. You need a path to profitability, and it really needs to be grounded. And I try as hard as I can to constantly check myself and make sure that I'm not telling myself any lies, because it does no good. I don't need to trick myself into thinking the numbers look better. I need to know what they are, and then I need to know how to course correct. Yeah. So I would say at periods of time over the last 2 years, those are lessons I've learned that I probably would have, wished I could have applied a few in 2018.
And so on a more personal note, what are you doing for yourself as the world's on pause?
I'm trying to enjoy this extra time with my kids. I was on the road a lot, which I didn't mind. And, I didn't mind. I love everything about what I'm doing. And I do believe we're able to do something that helps people. And that means a lot to me. Yeah. And I give my kids, time with my full attention. So I don't ever feel the extent you can totally diminish, put away the mom guilt. I tended not to feel guilty, but I was gone. I was either gone a lot or I was working, and my time with them was very limited. And now I've got all this time with them. So I'm just trying to, yes, sometimes it's intense and there's a lot of whining. But I am trying to find the joy in that.
That's beautiful.
Also doing some yoga, which helps.
That's beautiful. And so what has been your key to managing family life with starting a beauty company?
That's a great question. I'm not sure if there's one key. And I think current crisis aside, because that's a whole nother animal. And we're just trying, everyone's just trying to survive right now. It is hard. It's hard if you have kids at home. It's hard if you don't. It's hard if you're home by yourself and you have no one. It's just hard. Hard if you have a job, if you don't, then go on. I think what really worked for me before was just the only time I'm going to have is the time I carve out. And so just being really disciplined to make time that is 100% dedicated focus, no devices, just me and the kids, and know that that's enough for them. Even if they whine and complain, I've given them what they need, I've connected with them, and that, and so it's sort of, maybe I've just carried that over into the current crisis. And also just letting go of boundaries around work-life balance and what is okay and what isn't okay. Just doing what needs to get done. And sometimes there's a break in the middle of the day and I go do something for my kids and I'm like, I can do that because of the situation. And there are other times where I'm working late every night, most nights. Yeah. Every night. And weekends. And that's okay too. So, just taking the judgment out of it and trying very hard. But it's a constant battle. We're trained to judge. We've been conditioned this way. So you have to overcome it.
You've spoken on network and no judgment and yoga. This is just a beautiful conversation. I will say we're going to have to do a part 2 because there's so much more that I have to ask you. But let's talk about what books are you reading right now?
So I love to read, and I have literally no idea when I read. I don't know when it happens, but it does happen. Yeah. I just finished The Heart's Invisible Furies. Okay. Kind of a sweeping fiction. It takes place from the 40s to present. An Irish man. I don't want to give too much away. Okay. Sort of a sweeping generational. But it was very good. It was very thought-provoking. So it kind of stuck with me. And honestly, there are so many others, but that are amazing, and I'm just blanking on all of them right now.
Okay. Well, I have one final question, and this is the question that I've been asking on my series thus far. What would you tell your 18-year-old self?
I would tell my 18-year-old self to just have a little bit more confidence. You are like, I think it was all in there, but it didn't really, couldn't believe it. So just believe, like, you are amazing. You are worth it. You are loved. And it is all in there. And so just believe in yourself.
Thank you very much. Allison, this has been a dope fucking interview chat. I think you're so cool. I have so much respect for what you built and what you're building. And so thank you very much and have a great day. Stay safe and blessings.
Same to you. Thank you for having me. I love being connected. Thanks. This was so awesome. So stay safe as well. Give my best to Melanie.
I will. All right.
All right. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Oh, gosh.